Finally, as the ACLJ has been working on this for years, attention is finally being turned to it, so much so that President Trump really starting to threaten action if the government of Nigeria does not get it together to stop this genocide of Christians that is happening within their country. And again, I want to make sure people understand that this situation, this is not the government committing this genocide. This is a terrorist regime. This is Boko Haram going in there and doing this, but the government has done very little to stop it.
So President Trump relisted Nigeria as a country of particular concern. This is a designation under the United States State Department, and it comes from the Religious Freedom Act, the International Religious Freedom Act of 1998. And it's for countries that have particularly severe violations of religious freedom, meaning systematic, ongoing, and egregious violations of religious freedom. This is torture, this is killing, this is genocide, things of that nature. And Nigeria was listed as that, much in part with the work that the ACLJ did with then Secretary of State Mike Pompeo back in 2020 to get Nigeria on this list. One of the first things that the Anthony Blinken State Department did was remove Nigeria from this list. And we have been fighting both at the UN and in the United States to try and have them re-put on that list. We even tried to work with the Blinken State Department. But just a little over a week ago, Jordan, on October 24th, we sent this letter to the new Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, asking for Nigeria to be redesignated as a country of particular concern. And over the weekend, on Friday evening, President Trump did just that by relisting Nigeria as this country of particular concern.
And I think there's such things as divine timing, because those of you who may have heard me last week when I joined the show briefly from Washington, D.C. With Logan just for a few minutes, it was because we were, announcing a new partnership with CPAC and the American Center for Law and Justice on ending Christian persecution worldwide, because we are both organizations that have offices all over the world. When you add to that the offices all over the world, they have the meetings all over the world so that we can work, again, to end the persecution and the killing of our brothers and sisters. So we start that with there's going to be a summit, but we have a kickoff event with the ACLJ with a lot of current and former members of the government, and including the Speaker of the House, who we played on Friday, who stopped by that at the Museum of the Bible, that we did this event with CPAC, and the ACLJ hosted the reception on ending this persecution. But that earlier in that day, a smaller group of us met with top White House staff. And I remember Matt Schlapp, he pitched it right to me and said, Jordan, what's the first thing they need to do? And I said, Nigeria's got to be back on the CPC. The staff was concerned about doing it because of the oil and gas. That's all I'll say. And some of the security risks there. And yet the next day and a half later, after the summit, where 3 million people watched, the CPC is signed.
Let's go ahead and play President Trump Bite 2, just so you can set this up, and then I'll read to you his official statement.
They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world, very bad. They're killing the Christians. They're killing them in very large numbers. I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Here's the actual official statement that came out from President Trump on Truth Social. Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for this mass slaughter. I'm hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern, but that is the least of it. When Christians or any such group is slaughtered like is happening in Nigeria, 3,100 versus 4,476 worldwide, something must be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and report back to me. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. That is the official statement that again came out on Truth Social. I know there was a follow-up as well, but understand how strong these words are. These words are essentially saying, you better watch out. If we don't get this together, America is taking notice, and not only going to take notice, but is going to take action, and that could be more than just some sanctions.
The fact that the President of the United States is calling out what is a genocide, 70% of Christians that are killed worldwide for their faith happens in one place, Nigeria. So 70% of people being killed for their Christian faith in the world is happening in Nigeria, Jordan.
The statistic that I think is all you have to kind of keep in your mind. Just last year, and the killing has not gotten better. It's only gotten worse. Just last year in 2025, there was an average of 32 to 35 Christians killed each day in Nigeria because they were Christians. 35 a day throughout the entire year of 2025. Then, when you look at the next report, what does that amount to so far in this year? 7,000 Christians have already been killed in this year alone. I mean, so we are talking about persecution at its again highest level, and there's got to be action taken on the ground. The Nigerian government has the resources to do it if the world puts that pressure on. The first step in the world putting that pressure on is the leader of the free world, the United States of America.
So what does that action look like for Nigeria? And then if they don't, what does that action look like for America?
So there's two things that come with being on a country of particular concern lists that are important. One, companies now who do business there also now have an interest in making sure you get your act together. Because let's say you are one of those big oil and gas companies with corporations and activities in Nigeria. The worst thing that could happen to you as a company, for that part of your company, is for Nigerian oil or gas to be sanctioned. That means that it cannot be sold to the United States or purchased by U.S.-based businesses. CPC designation allows the president to take just one step to institute that kind of restriction on their ability to impact trade. But that doesn't just affect Nigeria, Logan. Like I said, that then means that big oil and gas companies based in America that do work in Nigeria now also can need to go to the Nigerian government and say, get this under control or else we will no longer be able to do business with you and we'll have to stop our operations in Nigeria. So it puts not just the world on notice, but everyone who does business in the United States on notice that you're a step away, if you don't get your act together, from being cut off from the world's economy.
Well, and Jordan, you also brought up that there's a second step as well, and that's what President Trump alluded to in his second statement on this. I know you wanted to read that as well to the audience.
I think the second step is what he talks about here in his second remark just a day later. If the Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians, the U.S. will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. That's also, something you can do under the CPC. So you're not just saying you might be sanctioned. We're also going to stop giving you money if you're going to tell us that you don't have the resources to better protect these communities. First of all, that's not the truth. The truth is these soldiers don't want to protect certain areas because there may be, though, religious similarities. They may both be Christians. They could come from different tribal backgrounds, and so they don't want to be the ones sent to defend this other tribe. Also, the government wants to keep its military from fighting out with Boko Haram. They want to keep them around them to keep them safe so that their major cities are able to operate. And this is just kind of happening off in the hinterlands, away from major cities. But when 35 people are being killed a day in a country we do business with like this, President Trump is going to go further. So he said, again, the assistance would cut off and it may go into that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing, that we may go in to that now disgraced country, guns a-blazing to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorist. I know I was with Eric Prince, actually, famous for founding Blackwater, on Thursday. He was at our summit. He is trying to work right now with the Nigerian government and could play a role with this U.S. action in contracting it out for them to go in and protect these communities.
It started to get some attention from places you wouldn't expect when President Trump put this out. Nicki Minaj, who is a rap star, an artist, and very popular, not someone that you would normally think of as a President Trump supporter or fan, but she tweeted this put this out on X, Logan will correct me, with a screenshot of President Trump's first statement from Truth Social, and said, reading this made me feel a deep sense of gratitude. We live in a country where we can freely worship God. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion. We don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other. Numerous countries around the world are being affected by this horror, and it's dangerous to pretend we don't notice. Thank you to the president and his team for taking this seriously. God bless every persecuted Christian. Let's remember to lift them up in prayer.
Yeah, Nicki Minaj is actually very interesting because she has kind of flirted with conservative and Christian views throughout her career. Obviously, someone, if you listen to and maybe a fan of, you may go, well, how does that connect? You know what? That's not for me to judge or say. We should be happy that there are people out there willing to actually write so eloquently these kind of statements. Let's just be honest. That is probably a more... I would think that statement would come out of the president of the United States more than the statement he made. I love the statement President Trump made because it was so aggressive. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that was a very eloquently beautiful written. But of course, you know what Newsmax did? Or not Newsmax, I'm sorry, Newsweek. I just saw their article because I was like, what are people saying? The big question they're raising is Nicki Minaj a Republican? That is the headline. And they say they have reached out to her representative for email to confirm whether or not she is a Republican. Why it matters? Because she has 43 million social views on her social media posts. And, you know, she's drawn significant attention for, goes on this whole thing. It's like not about the topic at hand.